Hey guys, I'm Alex, and this is my 2002 Z06 Corvette. And I'm going to tell you why you should really consider picking one up in 2023. So, first of all, little backstory. I'm Alex. I know you haven't seen my face before, but this is my 2002 Z06 Corvette. I have owned three Mustangs previously to this car, which I had a ton of fun in. But let me tell you, these Corvettes are a completely different animal. Alright, so first things first. I will tell you, these cars are plenty capable to do anything you want them to do, from road course racing, to drag racing, to drifting. I've even seen some of them built into rally or off-road vehicles, and they are absolute tanks. So don't think these cars are weak in any way, they are tanks. Now, my Z06 in particular is not a stock car. It has an LS364 crate motor swapped into it. Um, you don't need to go that route. Trust me, the LS1 or LS6 that come stock with these cars are plenty capable to do anything you really need them to do. Now, I daily drove my car for about 2.5 years every day to work, to school, everywhere. This was my only vehicle, and I beat the absolute shit out of it. Let me tell you, it held anything I threw at it. The only thing that you have to really be concerned with in these cars, especially when you start lowering them, is speed bumps, any little pothole, or anything on the road. These cars will scrape and damage the underside of these cars. This car in particular is on BC Racing Coilovers. It's the extreme low variant, but believe me, you do not need to buy the extreme lows if you're trying to go low. I've never maxed this car out, and I don't think I ever will need to. It could go about an inch or two lower right now, but even as it sits, it scrapes on absolutely everything. It scrapes on things I cannot see in the road. It might be a leaf, a stick. If you suck up a plastic bag with these cars, or anything that gets under your front bumper, your car will overheat. If you are expecting to buy one of these cars for its interior or comfort, let me tell you that is not the case. That's not what you're going to be getting. These interiors are old GM, cheap plastic. It fades, it cracks, it just looks dated, which it is. This one is a 21-year-old car now, but the first C5s came out in 1997, so you can imagine they have seen some miles on them. But you don't buy these cars for the interior at all. You buy these cars for why they were built, which is to be a race car. These cars are built by GM from the factory to be on a road course. Um, so if you are driving these cars like it's your Prius or your minivan, never putting your foot to the floor, I'm telling you, you're missing out. These cars are built to be driven hard. It's what they are designed to do. And I'm sorry to call out the boomers here, but if you have a Corvette of any generation past C4, I would say, you don't put your foot to the floor every once in a while and let that motor scream, you're really hindering the performance of that car. You need to be driving that car hard. It's what it's built for. If you're going to drive it like it's your grocery getter, then go get a Prius, go get a Honda Accord. I'm sorry, that's what those cars are for. Corvettes are built to be race cars. Now, guys, I hate to say it, but there's a lot of boomers out there importing these cars in their garages. Garage kept, low miles, only driven on the weekends, not driven in the rain. They keep them clean. And that's good for us folks who actually want to drive these cars and abuse them because they're so unabused at that point. If you could find a low mileage garage kept C5, I highly recommend you pick up because it's so much untapped potential in that car that you could use to your advantage. So you just gotta find those cars. There's plenty out there. I see them all the time. I'm on Facebook Marketplace constantly, just browsing because I have fun doing it and I enjoy it. I see these cars sell around 10 grand a lot of the time. I'm starting to see more and more of that. Um, if you're looking for a Z06, expect to be spending around 20 grand at that point. But even if you just decide to get a base model, you're still totally fine. They're almost the same car. There's some small differences, but ideally it's the same car. It can do the same thing. So you might want to save yourself the money and just find a base model that you can build up. One thing you do have to keep in mind when buying these cars, if you know anything about Corvettes, you know the transmission is in the rear, and they use a torque tube to transmit the power from the motor up front to the flywheel and the clutch assembly, all the way to the back, where the transmission, differential, all of that is. And over time, there's couplings on those torque tubes that will decay and deteriorate. You'll get more play and more noise, and at that point, you probably need to rebuild your torque tube, which it's not a fun project, but it's not the worst project either. You can definitely get it done. I've seen people do it in their driveway before, so don't be too deterred away from that, but just keep that in mind that your torque tube is probably going to need a rebuild at some point. These cars are bottom feeders, meaning they suck up the air which cools the car off from underneath the front bumper. If you get anything caught underneath that front bumper and sucked up in front of your radiator, a plastic bag, sand, dirt, pine straw, any of that stuff to block that airflow, your car is going to overheat substantially. Just gotta blow it off with some compressed air every once in a while to make sure it's clean and allows air to pass through to cool your car. Overheating is one of the main issues with these cars. So a lot of people put different radiators in them. They put vents in the hood, which I'll probably be doing here soon. But keep in mind that it does like to overheat. There's not a whole bunch of airflow coming through. Some people remove their front plate cover and modify it in a way that allows airflow to come through. But honestly, you don't need to be cutting up your car that much to really cool these cars down. Just make sure it's full of coolant and you do flushes every once in a while and you have no air pockets in your cooling system. That happens all the time and I've experienced that plenty of times. I keep getting air pockets in this car which causes it to overheat like that. So keep that in mind, get those air pockets out and you'll be fine. And you can't talk about a C5 Corvette without mentioning the pop-up headlights.
Pop up and down headlights, go! Pop up and down headlights! Pop up and down headlights, pop up and down headlights, pop up and down headlights!
That was one of the deciding factors for me. I absolutely love them. It has a retro style with a semi-modern car, and I think they look absolutely badass. The platform these cars are getting exposed to now, there's a lot of aftermarket companies making parts for these cars now, and I think it's amazing. I've seen people build body kits for these cars, headlights, new suspension mods, all kinds of stuff, and they're continually producing these new additions for the C5 Corvette. So now is the time. I'm telling you, you are going to be missing out if you don't pick up one of these. Of course, you can get any other car out there, just, JDM, European, BMWs, Nissans, whatever you want to do. And I think they're all great to an extent. But the C5 is just such a good platform, especially with the abundance of parts we have here in the US. It's an LS. They put these motors or variants of these motors in just about every car they produce. So parts are dirt cheap and easy to find wherever you go, which makes working on these things or finding parts to work on these things pretty easy. Now, a lot of people are considering these cars the new American 240 SX, which I can understand to an extent, where these cars are very, very lightweight. Not quite as light as a 240, but I believe they hover between 32 and 3,300 pounds. And their weight distribution is 50-50, which means they handle amazing on a course, a road course, or the street, or whatever you want to be doing with it. but it's very, very predictable. You don't have to worry about it switching up on you or gripping up in a weird spot. These cars are very balanced around turns, when they're sideways, and I mean, they are very grippy from the factory. Um, I had 275s on this car in the rear. They were Nitto NT 555, I believe. And this car should be making about 420 to 430 horsepower. And it really never broke first or second gear loose. It gripped and it went. If I gave it a clutch kick, of course, it would spin the tires, but it grips up very fast. Now, let me warn you guys, when you start modifying your C5 Corvette, your reliability is going to be hindered at that point. That's kind of the case with any car though, so you should expect that. I drove my buddy's C5 base model he picked up not too long ago, and I was blown away at the difference in driving my car versus his car being almost completely stock. His car is so much more comfortable to drive, and mine is a lot more rigid and it feels more like a race car. But I'm okay with that because this is my race car. I beat the crap out of it and I want it to perform well. But just keep that in mind. If you do start modifying it, reliability and comfort is going to be a little bit of a downfall at that point. But who cares? You can throw a couple parts on it and make it even better. Alright guys, I hope I helped you decide if you're going to pick up a C5 or not. I hope you do. If you do, please send me a picture or something on my Instagram. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below and I will get to them as soon as I can. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. And until next time, take care guys, and I'll see you later.